The reception hall smelled like other people's perfume and warm chicken. Nora had found the only quiet place left in the building, a bathroom with a hand dryer that didn't work and a window painted shut. She was still in the dress. She hitched it up over her knees so she could sit properly on the closed toilet lid, and stayed there, trying to think through the numbers without saying them out loud. She and Emmett had already done the math. 3 nights before the wedding, they had sat at the kitchen table with 2 laptops open between them and gone through the trip from front to back. Nora had said it was too much. Emmett had stared at the final number for a long time and said they could still make it work. They had gone to bed without agreeing on anything. Outside, the DJ had moved on to the slow ones. Nora could feel the bass coming up through the floor and into her heels. 7 people had asked about the honeymoon before dinner. Her mother had asked whether she had bought something white for the beach. One of Emmett's cousins wanted to know which island they were staying on. Every question required the same bright answer, and each time she gave it, the number from the kitchen table came back. Flights, 2,400. Resort, 3,100. Food and boat tours and taxis, 1,200 if they were careful. Travel insurance, airport transfers, and the fee the bank took when you spent money in another currency, 500 more, 7,200 for Greece. Then there was the 3,200 already sitting on the card from the caterer's deposit, quietly getting bigger at 24%. $10,400. She didn't write anything down. She just held it in her head, turning it over again and again, until it stopped feeling like separate numbers and started feeling like one shape she couldn't get comfortable with. Somebody knocked. "Nora? Your mom's looking for you." 2 minutes, she said. She stayed there another 30 seconds, still thinking, until the song outside finally ended. Emmett counted. He didn't set out to, it just happened, the way you start counting anything you're dreading. 11 people asked where they were going. His cousin asked. The photographer asked, which was fair. That was just making conversation between shots. A guy from work asked and then said, "Take the 10 days, man. You only get one honeymoon," and clapped him on the back like he was seeing him off to war. Every time, Emmett said, Greece, probably. And every time it came out thinner than the time before. He and Nora had priced the whole thing 3 nights earlier. He knew what it cost. He also knew Nora was right about the card, the winter, and the fact that overtime was easy to promise in June. There were no tickets. He had opened the airline site maybe 40 times since April, clicked far enough to see the seat map, and backed out every time. His card details were saved in the browser. He had never once pressed the final button. His Aunt Delphine caught him at the dessert table. He set his plate down because he knew what was coming, and she took both his hands the way she does. "Your mother would have loved this," she said. "I know. So, where's my nephew taking his bride?" "We're still working out the dates." Delphine tilted her head. "Don't work them out too long, sweetheart. You only do this once. Nobody gets to be old and says, 'Thank God I stayed home.'" She meant it kindly. Emmett looked down at the cake crumbs on his plate and felt his back teeth come together anyway. His uncle had used the same line an hour earlier, out by the cars, word for word. He stepped into the hallway beside the coat room and opened the resort page on his phone. $250 would hold the dates, non-refundable. He knew it did not make the rest of the trip affordable. He knew Nora would want to talk before they paid anything, but talking meant the trip could still become one more thing they promised to do later. He told himself he wasn't booking it. He was only keeping the door open. He pulled the debit card from his wallet, entered the number, and pressed confirm. The email arrived before he made it back to the reception hall. Here's what their life looked like that June. Nora was a dental hygienist, $52,000 a year, about $32.50 a month after everything came out. Emmett had finished his HVAC apprenticeship a year and a half earlier and was on $22 an hour, 40 hours most weeks, though winter could soften when contracts moved. There was real overtime from June through September, when every air conditioner in the county decided to quit at once. Call it $2,900 a month in a normal winter, better in summer. His company didn't hand out vans at his level, so he drove to job sites in his own truck, with his tools in the bed under a tarp. Rent was $1,650, truck payment $380, with $11,000 still owed on it. Nora's student loan $220, then groceries, gas, phone, internet, insurance, and the $200 that disappears every month, and nobody can ever account for. The bills they could see came to right around $4,000. But vehicle registration, work tools, medical copays, clothes, gifts, repairs, annual fees, and the minimum on the card did not arrive evenly. Spread across the year, their real monthly outflow was closer to $5,300. They were not broke. Nobody was counting slices of bread in that apartment. They were the kind of okay where a normal month left $700 or $800. A good summer month felt like proof they'd finally figured it out, and one repair could erase several months of being careful. Savings held $4,300, and most of that was wedding money, envelopes with their names spelled wrong. He started running the numbers again on the drive home at 1 in the morning, the way he does when he's trying to talk himself into something. Nora sat with her shoes in her lap. They were the same numbers they had gone through 3 nights earlier. Nothing about them had improved since then. So we used the wedding money, and we put about $3,000 on the card, he said. Then we knock it down over the winter. Nora looked out through the windshield. We already did this. I know, and it was too much 3 days ago. We'll have overtime. In January, he didn't say anything for about a mile. The dashboard clock changed twice. The confirmation email from the resort was still sitting unread at the top of his phone. On a Tuesday in July, Ruthie posted from Tulum. Ruthie and Marcus had married in May and pushed the trip out 6 weeks, so Marcus could finish a job. The pictures came in a run of 9. The infinity pool, breakfast on a balcony with the fruit cut into flowers, Marcus asleep in a hammock with his mouth open, Ruthie in a white swimsuit with her back to the water, somehow completely dry. Nora looked at all 9 of them twice, standing in the break room with a yogurt she wasn't eating and the little fridge humming behind her. Then she typed "stunning" with 2 exclamation points and a heart eyes face, and put her phone down on the counter and stood there with her arms folded. Ruthie had the pool. Somebody in the office had Iceland booked for October. Nora still carried the number from her wedding night. $10,400, unchanged. That night, she said, "Do you actually want to go to Greece?" Emmett was at the sink. "What do you mean, do I want to go? I mean, if nobody ever found out where we went, if it was a secret, would you still pick Greece?" He turned the water off and stood with his hands dripping. "That's not a real question. It's the only real one I've got," she said. The fight came the following Thursday, and it came in sideways, off something stupid. He'd left the truck payment envelope on the table. She moved it to the counter. He asked why she moved it. She said because she was sick of looking at it, and then everything they had managed not to say was out in the room with them. "I'm not giving up the trip," he said. "Nobody said give it up. You've been saying not this year for 2 weeks without saying not this year." She put both hands flat on the table. "Okay, yes, I don't want to go this year." And then Emmett said the thing he'd been carrying around since he was 14, and his voice went sideways in the middle of it, which surprised them both. You know what my family's going to say. My dad had money, Nora. Not a lot, but he had it. He just never spent a dollar he didn't have to. For 29 years of their marriage, Mom kept a magazine picture of Ireland on the fridge, this green road with a stone wall along it. Every time she wiped the door down, she'd move the picture so it wouldn't get grease on it, and then she'd put it back up. She died having never been anywhere. He pressed the heel of his hand against his eye. I told myself I'd never do that to somebody. The fridge clicked on. Neither of them said anything for a while. "Come here," Nora said, and he didn't move, so she went around the table instead. "You're not him." He could have taken her, and he chose not to. That's not what's happening in this kitchen. So, what's happening in this kitchen? We can't afford it, not this year. She had her hand flat on his back. 2 years, Emmett. Give me 2 years and we go. And we go with cash in the account. If we go now, we come home owing about $6,000, and every month the statement shows up and we look at each other and think about a beach. I don't want to spend 2 years paying interest on 11 days. Later's a nice word, he said. People say later, and it turns into never. I watched it turn into never. Then pick a month, she said. Pick one, and I'll build the whole thing backwards from there. He looked down at the table. August, 2 summers from now. And where? He was quiet for a second. Ireland, but only if you'd choose it too. I would, she said. I just want the trip to belong to us. Calling off Greece that year turned out to be less dramatic than either of them expected, and more tedious. Emmett had the resort on speaker, while Nora stood at the counter. The woman explained twice, in the same pleasant voice, that the $250 hold was non-refundable. Emmett said he understood. When the call ended, Nora looked at him. What $250? He kept the phone in his hand. I put down a deposit to hold the dates. When? He hesitated just long enough to answer the question before he spoke. At the reception. You'd stepped away. Nora put the dish towel down. While I was in the bathroom? I didn't know where you were. He looked at the dark screen of his phone. Everybody kept asking. Delphine brought up my mom, and I thought if I didn't do something, we'd talk ourselves out of it. We were supposed to talk. I know. You knew I thought we couldn't afford it. I thought I was keeping the option open. You spent money we couldn't get back, so it would be harder for me to say no. He started to answer, then stopped. Nora worked at a spot on the counter with her thumbnail for a moment. You don't get to make us committed before we have the conversation. I know. Not again. Not again. The flights were easier, because there were no tickets to cancel. He opened the airline site one last time, clicked through to 14A and 14B, the pair he had chosen every time he priced the trip, and then closed the page. The whole thing took 4 minutes and cost him nothing, which somehow made it worse. He sat on the edge of the bed afterward with his elbows on his knees. You want a coffee? Nora said from the doorway. Yeah. Neither of them moved for a minute. He'd been braced to feel like he'd let her down. Instead, his shoulders came down on their own, the way they do when you finally set a heavy box on the landing, and he caught it happening, and it made him angry for a second that his body had gotten relieved before he had. Delphine's going to have a field day. Probably. Worst part is, she'll be nice about it. She'll do the voice. Nora sat down next to him and put her chin on his shoulder. Let her do the voice. The next morning, they took $3,200 of the wedding money and killed the card with it, and watched that balance go to zero on a Saturday at 9 in the morning. The checking account they did not touch. Next month's rent was already sitting in it, and Nora would not have slept otherwise. What emptied out was the wedding envelopes, and $1,100 of that was left over. Nora didn't spend it. She opened a second savings account at a credit union across town, on purpose, because money sitting next to the checking account gets spent by March. She put the $1,100 in and named the account Buffer. Emmett took one of the empty wedding envelopes, wrote Ireland, August, 2 years from now across the front, and set it beside the laptop. There was no money for the trip yet, just a date. What they did instead was drive 2 hours north to a rented cabin with a green metal roof and a gutter that leaked directly onto the front step. 3 nights, $310, $40 in gas, $85 at the grocery store in town for charcoal, 2 steaks, potatoes, and coffee that turned out to be genuinely bad. $4 for a jigsaw puzzle out of the bin by the register, because Emmett thought a puzzle in a cabin was funny. $439, everything included. Nora kept the receipts in the glove box. She still has them. It rained the whole first afternoon. They did the puzzle on the floor with the door open so they could hear it, and 2 pieces were missing, and Emmett would not accept that, and he was still checking under the couch cushions an hour later, while Nora laughed at him until she got a stitch in her side. The second night the power went out for about 40 minutes. They sat on the porch in the dark, the leak going tick, tick, tick on the step, and Emmett said, out of nowhere, "I was saving that. The picture on the fridge. I had it worked out that I'd tell you in Greece, some dinner on a terrace, 3rd glass of wine, me being interesting about my mother for 10 minutes. And instead, I threw it at you, over an envelope on the kitchen table." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Since I was 14, I never said it to one person, and that's how it came out. You'd have ruined it in Greece anyway. You'd have been doing the exchange rate in your head the whole time." He laughed at that, one short breath, because that's exactly what he'd have been doing. There are no good photos from those 3 days. There's one, actually. Emmett crouched by the grill with a dish towel over his shoulder, squinting into smoke, blurry, half his head out of frame. Nora kept it as her phone background for a year. Then came the stretch nobody posts about. $550 a month into the credit union in the slow months, $700 or $800 in the summer, when Emmett was doing installs on Saturdays. First target, $8,000. 2 months of stripped-down bills if one of them lost work. Until then, the Ireland envelope stayed empty. Once the buffer reached that number, they would stop feeding it and open the trip account. Then the next few months went by, and none of it felt like anything. Some Fridays, Nora opened the credit union app just to look at a number that had moved $400 since the last time she looked at it. Friday dinners out became Friday dinners at the apartment, with a bottle of wine that cost $11, and a movie one of them fell asleep during. Emmett came home from August installs with his shirt stiff and white at the collar from dried sweat. Nora cut her own hair one Sunday in October, badly enough that she wore it up for 3 weeks and never tried again. Mostly it just felt cheap, like they were the only 2 people they knew who had decided to be boring on purpose. In October, a couple from Nora's office went to Iceland. In November, Emmett's cousin drove over in a new truck and made everybody come outside to look at it. The account said $4,400, and then it sat there. The apartment ran on electric baseboard heat, and the bill went from $90 to $260. Nora's car needed 2 tires before the first freeze. There was Christmas, which they did cheap, and which still cost what Christmas costs. December went by, January went by, and the fund did not move a dollar in either direction. She stopped opening the app on Fridays because there was nothing in there to look at. Then the transmission in the truck let go on a Tuesday morning, and February happened. $1,900 at the shop, and there was no negotiating with it, because without the truck, he couldn't reach a single job site or carry a single tool. The same month, the commercial contract his company had been running got pushed to spring, and Emmett went from 40 hours to 30 for 5 weeks straight. After taxes, it meant roughly $800 that never reached the checking account. Nora sat in the shop parking lot with the repair invoice on her knee and went down it on her fingers, out loud, twice, the heater blowing cold air at her shins. Rent's covered, cards clean. The repair is paid, in cash, today. The truck loan is down to $8,600, and it keeps moving. The buffer is at $2,500, which is less than she wanted to see, and more than zero. Emmett had both hands on the wheel and hadn't put it in gear yet. "If we'd gone to Greece," he said. "I know. No, let me say it out loud, because I need to hear myself say it. If we'd gone in September, that transmission goes on the card, and the card's already sitting at $5 or $6 grand from the trip." He shook his head slowly. February would have taken us apart, over a used truck. "Yeah," he put it in reverse. "Okay," he said. Then it was March. Nothing bounced. There was no 2 in the morning conversation about which bill could wait, and Emmett was back on a rooftop unit Thursday morning with the truck idling rough in the lot below him. After that, he started opening the credit union app himself, on his lunch break, sitting in the truck with a sandwich in his lap. 8 months after the wedding, and it took a repair shop parking lot to do it. The buffer crossed $8,000 the following November, and Nora took a screenshot of it and sent it to him with no caption. He wrote back a single word: envelope. That night they opened another account and named it Ireland. Ruthie's sister got married that spring. Nora ended up beside Ruthie at the bar, doing the catching up thing, and then Ruthie leaned in with her shoulder and said, half laughing, "Word of advice, don't put a wedding and a honeymoon on the same card. We're still paying Tulum." "How bad?" Ruthie looked into her drink. "There's still a payment coming out this month." She said it the way you'd mention weather. "It was worth it. It was beautiful, Nor." It looked beautiful. It was. A pause long enough for the band to start a new song. Marcus took Saturdays at the shop to get ahead of it. That part's less beautiful. 2 years on, and money was still leaving her account for it, while her sister threw the bouquet 20 feet away. Ruthie had chosen a different price. The trip had been beautiful. The Saturdays were part of the price too. Nora reached over and untwisted the strap on the back of Ruthie's dress and said nothing at all about the credit union. 26 months after the wedding, the Ireland account had $5,600 in it, and the $8,000 buffer hadn't been touched. Flights, $1,650 for the 2 of them. A rental car, $520. And Emmett swearing his way around a roundabout twice on the first morning because he couldn't find the exit. Bed and breakfasts for 10 nights, $2,100. Everything else, food and pubs and entry tickets, and a wool blanket Nora had no business buying, $1,330. Every dollar was already in the account before they backed out of the driveway. The flights, car, and rooms were paid. The rest was spending money, already earned and waiting. No card behind it. Nothing waiting at home. The night before the flight, Emmett couldn't sleep, and Nora found him in the kitchen at 1 in the morning, doing the thing he does with the coffee scoop, tapping it against the counter. "You good?" "I keep waiting to feel guilty," he said, "like somebody's going to come take it back." She took the scoop out of his hand. "You paid for it." "I know. You paid for it $11 of wine at a time, for 2 years." He'd brought the magazine picture. It had been in a shoebox at his aunt's house since the funeral, soft at the corners, one crease down the middle from the fridge magnet. He kept it in the glove box of the rental for 11 days and never once made a speech about it. On the 4th day, the rain came in sideways off the water, and they stood under the awning of a shop in a village where one house was mustard yellow and the next one turquoise, paint blistering off the window frames. Nowhere in particular to be. Emmett had his jacket held over the both of them. Water came off the awning in a sheet about 6 inches from his shoulder. Tick, tick, tick on the stone step. He looked at it and then at her. "This is the gutter at the cabin," he said. And Nora laughed so hard she had to hold on to his arm to stay upright. They took a few hundred pictures. They posted 4. Delphine commented on every single one with far too many exclamation points, and Emmett read them out loud in her voice on the drive to Galway, and Nora told him he was going to hell for it. They didn't skip their honeymoon. They moved it, they wrote a date under it, and then they went. The 11 days in Ireland were the last thing on the list, not the first. What they bought first was a February where a $1,900 transmission was an annoying Tuesday instead of the start of a slow slide. To Emmett, that was the most romantic thing anybody had ever done for him, and nobody in this story was trying to mislead them. Delphine meant it kindly. Ruthie meant it when she said Tulum had been beautiful. A honeymoon can matter and still be badly timed. The sentence "you only get one" just quietly assumes you have to buy it on somebody else's calendar, with money you haven't earned yet. The romance didn't disappear during those 2 years. It changed shape. What they quit was the part where it had to cost $7,000 for anybody else to count it. If there's a version of this sitting in front of you right now, a trip or a ring or a party that everyone keeps asking about, you don't have to decide tonight. Do the thing Nora did in that bathroom. Stop answering for everyone else long enough to face the real number. Not the brochure number. The one with the interest and the 12 months of statements stacked on top of it. The picture from the fridge is on their own refrigerator now. Same crease, same soft corners, held up with a magnet from a petrol station outside Doolin. Nora moves it when she wipes the door down and she puts it back. If you've ever canceled or postponed something and been quietly glad about it a year later, tell me what it was down below. Somebody watching this needs to hear that it turned out fine.